Welcome back to world history. So I'm still not feeling super great and it hurts to talk, but that's okay. We're going to push through today in talking about Persia, the gigantic empire. So I'm really sorry if I sound a little funny. Remember, guys, this is a video. You could totally pause at any point in time. If there's some long gaps between my talking, it's because I'm just trying to drink some tea to calm my fiery throat. So let's get started. Are you excited? I'm excited. Persia, a gigantic empire. Well, where was Persia? It began in southern Iran, well, modern-day Iran, and it united all the existing empires and states from the Mediterranean coast all the way to the Indus Valley. This included approximately 30 to 35 million people. This next slide on water and quinats are not required for you to write down. It's more like information regarding their technology. So again, this slide, it shouldn't be in your notes. You don't have to write it down. Basically, this is like Persian water drilling. I believe it's what it's called. So it's their ancient way of getting running water and distributing it to irrigation canals. It's pretty impressive, thinking about it. So their Persian style of rule demanded obedience to their king, but they still respected local cultures and identities. This was the key to their success. They had religious tolerance. This is a pre-comp topic, so please, please, please write it down, highlight, underline, whatever you got to do. Right here where it says religious tolerance, this is extremely important. And yes, look at all these cute doggos doing a cute little doggo yoga stretch. It's so adorable. So, the empire is officially established under Cyrus the Achaemenid. He's going to campaign in all directions and expand the empire. He's going to have enormous power and military success, including Neo-Babylonian Empire, which ended the Babylonian captivity of which group of people? Hopefully you answered the Hebrews, aka believers of Judaism. So, if you remember from when we learned about Judaism, the Hebrews were held captive in Babylonia, and under the Persian rule, they were set free. They were no longer enslaved. So Cyrus actually was a pretty tolerant ruler, and looking at this map, you can see quite a large form of territory. He had one of the largest empires at the time until Alexander the Great. And then this little red dashed line here, this is known as the Royal Road. This is going to be extremely important with trade. So, as mentioned in the previous slide, the tolerance of Persian kings. They did not force conquered people to change their religion or to change their cultures. Instead, they continued local traditions of rule. Foreign occupiers is what they were, but they presented themselves as legitimate heirs to the throne of whatever, territory they've conquered. So when they conquered Babylon, for example, they wore the traditional royal garments and crowns as the Babylonian king. Same thing or similar thing in Egypt. When they conquered Egypt, they would wear the appropriate garments of the pharaoh of Egypt. So the Persians were extremely tolerant, and this helped them maintain that successful rule that was until Alexander the Great. Now, Darius is another important player here in Persian history. He's going to build Persepolis, which is their grandest, biggest city. It's their capital. He's also going to be credited with building the Royal Road. He, unfortunately, is going to lose to the Greeks. So there will be reorganization and reform. When we're talking about reorganization and reform, we're talking about tax system reform, legal code reform, and administrations being reformed. Then Darius is also going to divide the empire into districts called satrapies. This is another important pre-comp topic here, satrapies. Hopefully you noticed it, I think, on one of your on your vocab sheet, not one of them, but on your vocab sheet. So a satrap was a satrap governed each province. So satrap was the governor, satrapy was the province, if you need to make that distinction a little bit clearer. A satrap was a person who governed each province. The province was known as the satrapy. This image up here to the right is a picture from the ancient Persian city of Persepolis, which was this grand, beautiful, beautiful city. So each province, or satrapy, was forced to provide tribute and troops. The taxes would then be collected, and then the tributes would be sent back to Persepolis. The Persians exploited the skills of their subjects. So, for example, the Phoenicians had a phenomenal navy. So that is what the Persians require the Phoenicians to pay tribute in the form of. The navy, ships, seamen, all stuff like that. The army was provided by Arabian camel drivers from the Arabian Peninsula and the Egyptian charioteers. Now, there was an annual tribute ceremony. Once a year, the satrap would come to honor the king. This would be an ideological and an economic value. Ideological in the sense that it proved, ideologically, using the same word, ideally it proved that the people who were subjected to Persian rule understood that there was someone higher than them, and that higher person was the emperor. This also proved an economic value because as part of the tribute, not only are you recognizing someone as your superior ruler, but you're also now paying tribute to them in the form of money. This showed how the Persian king was master of subject of regions. So basically it showed how powerful he was throughout his entire empire. Tributes would vary, again, depending on place to place. So Babylonia, for example, would provide 1,000 talents, which is the equivalent of 60,000 pounds of silver. India, on the other hand, would only provide 360 talents, which is the equivalent of 21,600 pounds of gold dust, but they would also include gold, ivory, camels, and much, much more. These diverse tributes made Persia a very, very, very rich empire. Now, because of the largeness of their empire, they had to come up with, a better way to communicate. So this enters the extensive road system known as the Royal Road. Whenever you hear the Royal Road, I want you to try your hardest to associate Persia with Royal Road. They created the Royal Road, which is going to be this great trading route. It linked the empire from Susa to Aegean. It was 1,600 miles with rest houses for fast travel. So think about when you guys are driving on the interstate. Maybe you're going to visit family in another state. And maybe sometimes if it's several states away, you might be forced to stay in a hotel, right? Well, you'll notice as you're driving along the interstate, or maybe you don't notice, so next time you guys go for a drive, pay attention. Along the interstate, you'll see exits that say rest stop, 25 miles, or gas station 30 miles. This is a modern day equivalent of what was being done in the ancient world along these trade routes. They would have these little inns or manors established all along the trade route where people could stop and sleep or refresh their horses or grab a meal or just relax. Unfortunately, though, this wasn't all great. There were a lot of spies that were the eyes and ears of the king all along the trade route. So you might be staying at someone's inn and they might be asking you questions, nonchalant, like, oh, who are you? Where are you traveling to? Blah, blah, blah. But all the while, I don't think that's the proper term, but all along they're trying to get information from you that they can report back to the king. This is very similar to what the Mauryan emperor did in India. However, a big difference here, the emperor in India wanted to gauge the happiness levels of his subjects. So he wanted to know if there was any improvement that needed to be done. Whereas in Persia, it was more or less to catch wind of any rebellions or any struggles that the emperor or the king might need to squash right away. So the road, again, it's about 1,600 miles in length. There was 111 post or relay stations that were spaced about 15 miles apart along the road. And then there were other roads that branched off the main road to distinct parts of the empire. So this was a very connected trade route. Relay stations were equipped with fresh horses for the king's messengers. Royal messengers could cover the length of the royal road in about 7 days. The normal travel time along the road was much, much longer. So, for example, a caravan, which is, if you want to picture it in your mind, it's kind of like a covered wagon. It might take them 3 months to travel the whole distance because they might also be carrying like walking animals, or have several carts with them. Zoroastrianism is the official religion of the Persian Empire. Zarathustra in the 6th or 7th century is going to devise this idea. Historians believe it's the first monotheistic religion. So they had a single god, Ahura Mazda, who's known as the source of light, truth, and goodness. And we see this cosmic struggle with Angur Mayanu, this good versus evil, that eventually good will overcome evil. Again, getting a little into the specific of good versus evil with Zoroastrianism, good will win with the help of a final savior, which will then bring about a final judgment day, and individuals could choose good or evil, so humans have free will. Does this sound familiar? Hopefully it does sound familiar to other monotheistic religions we've covered so far this year, specifically Judaism, Christianity, and parts of Islam. So Zoroastrian's influence on Judaism, the idea of God versus Satan, the last judgment and resurrection, the belief in final defeat of evil with the help of a Messiah, and the remaking of the world at the end of time. So if you wanted to add this supplemental information to your pre-com study guide, because I know we haven't finished going over the answers yet, I would encourage you to do so. Now we're going to finally close with the Lydians and the Phoenicians. So the Phoenicians were outstanding explorers and merchants. They were sea tradesmen. They played an important role in trade. They traded purple and blue textiles. They were known as the Purple People. Now, purple was a very rare color at the time. It was very difficult to make, so that's why it was the color of royalty, because it was so expensive. They're going to compete with the Greeks in the Mediterranean Sea for trade ports and for basically income from their trading. The Phoenician legacy is their phonetic alphabet system. Each sign was designating a specific sound. The Greeks are going to modify this system, followed by the Romans modifying it even further into basically being able to read it today. So the phonetic alphabet is what we use today. It's a combination of phonetics and Latin. And I don't know much more into the history of it, but if you guys are curious, by all means, send me a quick question or a message in that questions channel, and I would definitely be happy to research more for you. Now, Lydia in Anatolia was known for precious metals. They would then be stamped by official mints to guarantee their value. So this is the first instance, basically, of coinage, of a monetary system with consistent prices. So this is the invention of modern-day money and currency. They're going to create a monetary system of consistent prices, as I mentioned, allowing people to save money. This will spread throughout the Mediterranean and Persian Empire. This idea that you have a uniform system where you're no longer saying, well, 4 of these slabs of silver are equivalent to 2 coins of gold weighing, 0.5 ounces or whatever the case may be. Now you have standard money, like we have in the United States. You can go to any state in the United States and a dollar bill will be the same across any state line. So the legacy of each, the Phoenicians were known for their powerful naval city-states, and their simple alphabet, which contained 22 letters. Now, our modern day alphabet contains 26. So again, if you're curious, you wanted to hear more about the history of the Phoenician alphabet, send me a quick comment or a question in the questions channel for class today, and I'll do my best to have some answers for you tomorrow. Hopefully, we'll be able to go live after you guys are taking your mock pre-comp, which I'm going to explain in just a minute. And then Lydian's concept of coin money. And yes, there are more videos, but we're not going to watch those today. So, this is important. Please do not stop watching the video until I finish talking about your mock pre-comp. So every year, around this time of year, we would take in person a mock pre-comp, which is basically a mock exam of what you can expect from the pre-comp. This year it'll look a little different since we're online, and what I mean by different is you're no longer taking it in the classroom, but I still expect you to take it with closed notes. I also don't want you to be studying for it. This is a good way for me to gauge how much knowledge you guys already have in your mind. So what I do is I give the mock exam, and then I get the collective averages from each each element. And from there, I really analyze each test. And I look at each question and I see the percentage of students who are making, getting that question correct and those who are not getting it correct. And then when it comes time for review week, I'm better able to cater my review week around the subjects that you guys are struggling with. So I don't want you to stress about this. It does not, it's not going to count for a grade. I want you to take it seriously though. But please do not use your notes, do not study for it. This is so I can gauge your base level of knowledge and then we can build upon that. So, there are directions in the CJ regarding this. It'll be tomorrow in GradeCam. It'll be, I think, 25 questions, multiple choice only. It will be open all day. So, ideally, you would only have 30 minutes to take the mock exam. Because we're online, it's difficult to gauge. Some students don't start right away. Some of you come to class late. So it will be open all day tomorrow. But I cannot stress enough how much I don't want you guys to study, how much I don't want you guys to, panic over this. It's just a mock exam, okay? I miss you guys like crazy. Thanks for being patient with me as my throat heals. I've got some antibiotics today, so hopefully by tomorrow they kick in and I'm feeling much, much better. But, last thing on the mock exam. There will be questions about Rome and Han China that you might not know the answer to. I'm sure I touched briefly about it, in previous lessons, but we haven't formally gone through it. You don't have notes on it. Don't panic. Make your best educated guess, and we'll go forward from there. You guys will learn everything you need to know for your pre-comps by the end of December before we go on break. But I'm required to give you guys this mock exam now. So please don't stress. Please don't panic. You guys are going to do great. I'm really proud of you and all the hard work you guys have been doing with this back and forth transitioning. You guys are amazing. Remember that. And hopefully I will see you guys tomorrow. All right. Thanks.